In order for you to make someone listen, the group listen, they need to feel it in their heart, or what you're actually saying, or the story that you're actually saying. They need to feel it in their heart or relate to it for them to listen. And if they can feel it in their heart, they will sit there and listen. Oh, geez, hang on, he's empowered me, he's encouraged me. Now I'm going to go and talk to my friends.
Great podcast then with Soa the Hulk Palelei. We went deep into mental health, the work he's doing with the mining industry, talked about the Polynesian culture as a youngster, and went to depths about that, which was unreal, and also talked about his whole fighting career. Check this one out.
All right, Soa Palelei, welcome to the Blokes Lab.
Hey, thanks for having me on, guys.
Hey, man. So, you've done a lot from your background in fighting to what you're doing with the mines these days, to writing books, to acting. We'll go back to the beginning. Tell us a little bit about your upbringing.
Before we kind of get into that, I would just like to let everyone know that I just had an adjustment by Dr. Death to the right-hand side of me. Probably the best adjustment. I've only had two really good adjustments over my career as a fighter. One from Ryan Parsons, who's over at Temecula, but mate, that was awesome. Yeah. Like what you've done, and I've had, I've got broken body from fighting, was awesome, and that was just in the one session. So hit this guy up if you guys need an adjustment, because that was the best adjustment I've ever had. Things were cracking, things come out. It was getting into place from years of it was awesome. Yeah,
awesome, man. My pleasure.
Yeah, but I mean, it all started off with I was born in Newcastle, New South Wales, where I was born. So as a kid, kind of growing up, mum and dad sent me over to Tonga, so which was good. I got to hang out with the cousins and stuff, but not sure why they sent me over there, because anything you do in Tonga, if you don't know, that climb coconut trees, sip on coconuts, and sit by the beach. So, but it was good to learn a history in that, where I was from. So and eventually make my way back to Newcastle, where my mum and dad left me with my cousins and uncle. So it was a good upbringing over in Tonga. So yeah.
Was it pretty tough in terms of physically, mentally, the sort of upbringing you had when you were in Tonga?
That was awesome in Tonga. Yeah. Plantation life, like you're just living on a farm, and you kind of you wake up every day and you're alive, and that was awesome. The fact that I learnt not only the culture but the history, but also just where my mum and dad was from. It was awesome to learn that, and as I grow older and I do have kids, and I like to kind of pass it on to my kids.
And would you send them there?
Yeah.
Send them there?
No, I haven't, but I'd love to take them there just to have a look of where I was kind of brought up a little bit. So because it's something different to the Western world. There's no McDonald's or KFC there, so so there's a few traffic lights, but it's good to kind of show them that it is a hard lifestyle if you get brought up in the island life. But be kind of fortunate that be blessed that you do kind of grow up in a good world where it's in Australia. So
definitely. And what sort of values were instilled with you when you were young from family and from in Tonga as well?
Well, when I was brought up in Newcastle, New South Wales, it was a hard life. It was a lot of getting bashed, but it's a lot of discipline in a way of my culture. Tonga is where I'm from, but it's I was kind of being up a bit as a kid. So, and to say that these days you can't even beat up smack your kid on the bottom without getting. I know there was something in the news where a lady got charged because she smacked her kid with a spoon, so with the wooden spoons. But back then was next level. So I think I learnt a lot as a kid, and I would never change on what happened to me as a kid, because it's made me the person I am today. So it's I'm pretty blessed that that the things that I've learnt as a kid, kind of growing up. I've taken it into to what I've learned now, but also there is a lot of mental health problems that come from that as well. I guess we'll go into that later on.
Definitely, and I've got quite a few Polynesian clients as well. And we obviously spoke in preparation to you coming on and asked them about, the culture of Polynesian sort of families. A lot of particularly, Caucasian Aussies have got no idea in terms of like the upbringing, in terms of like things like probably in Australia, but more so in NZ, like the amount of like violence and drugs and alcohol and sexual abuse and how this is almost just with a lot of the culture can be normal.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like it's whether it's my culture or whether it's Pacific Island culture or whether it's Indigenous culture here. So it's totally different. A lot of it's the upbringing, and it's hard. Like we're not fortunate to be kind of brought up in the Western culture. So it's, and a lot of that, when you see the kids kind of growing up now, they do have a lot of problems in a way of mental health. So I guess it's a matter of just kind of educating people on how to deal with it now. So.
And like Theo, obviously this is where Theo's, that's his expertise. It's like, it'd be good to hear your thoughts on, because the suicide rates are very high in Polynesian culture as well, with, they're like a lot higher than Caucasian culture. Because I imagine it's that trauma, and it's almost they get suppressed in terms of being able to communicate, and it's just like that's a way of life, and they've got to deal with that. So what are your thoughts with?
Yeah, it's really interesting because, as you mentioned also, like going through like, the hard stuff when you are young, obviously provides you a bit of resilience and everything, like to deal, with what life is going to throw to you, but at the same time, suppressing your emotions and not being able to express yourself, like, from such a young age, obviously, and bottling up, so much, everything comes up later on in life. And this is where, also like educating yourself also, but at the same time, getting the support that you need in order to process, everything, so you can actually liberate yourself and having that ability,
Yeah, I guess it's funny that coping mechanism as well. So with me, I just I found something that helped me. So I played a lot of sports as only growing up. I boxed as a kid, kind of to keep out of trouble, but that didn't kind of work. But then I got into basketball then play high level basketball, and then went to was contracted with Bristol. Bristol was a rugby union club over a premiership club over in England. So and they've played all these sports, but a lot of it kind of didn't. I wasn't getting what I needed to get from in life, and then that's when I kind of turned to fighting, where it kind of helped me get through what I was going through, even though I couldn't kind of reach out and have a conversation with anyone. But that was helping me kind of get through what I was going through at that time. So, and I guess in general, when you talk about people finding something, whether it's fitness, whether it's going for a walk, whether it's meditation, whether it's breath work, or whether it's coming here and seeing Dr. Death, to kind of crank yourself, whatever it is, fine.
He sent them to me.
Find something that helps you. So I think, and it's just education and kind of teaching people and helping people understand that as well. So which is a good thing.
In terms of like going to your fighting days, the early days, obviously I've been into watching MMA since 2006, so probably quite a while, and you're into obviously MMA well before then. So for people who didn't know, who've probably only jumped on the UFC in the last 10 years, they might not be familiar with Pride.
Yep.
Was Pride, was that was the early days of your career, is that where you sort of built your...
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I think 2001 was the first fight I had, and that was against a guy named Brad Morris over in Sydney. So first fight, never fought, and I guess how I fell into it was pretty funny, because I kind of did all the jiu-jitsu and stuff, and then I travelled with a guy named Habi Heskey. So we went to Brazil, and I kind of stayed in Brazil for a bit. And then we went to BJ, stayed with BJ Penn over in Hilo, and this is before UFC was even massive, and people never knew anything about MMA. So we went and stayed at all through El Segundo, where it was Raw Center. So Raw Center is like the hub of all the fighters that were coming together. You had Frank Trigg, a lot of the top level fighters were coming and training there. Tito, all these guys were still training at the Raw Center. So, and then from there, then they dispersed out to their own thing. So it was funny because we used to train in the morning. They used to shut down the gym during the day. it used to be they used to shoot porn during the day, and then in the afternoon would come and would come and train in the afternoon. So, and I was thinking, man, I just want to lock myself in the toilet and just wait, and then come out, and I'm just joking. But it was one of those things that it was funny back then. It was like everyone was still, it was still new, and but it's funny to see how everything's all gone to that next level. Everything's all kind of, UFC has really taken everything to another level, which is great to see that MMA has grown, and it's great to see. I kind of consider myself as one of the first kind of guys coming through to help build the UFC World MMA in Australia. You got Mark Hunt, you got all those, Elvis Sinisic, you got Anthony Parosh, the guys that kind of built it to where it is today, and you got the younger guys kind of, getting paid well, and that's and literally we were getting paid. Like when I remember a couple of fights were $500 for the fight, so it's literally nothing. But we believed and we had passion in what we were doing, so it was great.
Yeah, it's interesting that you're training at a gym like that. Staff isn't there anything you're worried about catching.
Yeah, exactly. You're just sliding around on the back.
Yeah. And even in terms of like fighting and Pride, did you probably prefer Pride to UFC, or what was a better organisation at the time to fight in?
Pride was massive. I mean, that was bigger than UFC at the time. So I think that's why UFC bought it and shelved it. So, mate, it was it was the atmosphere, the people being there. I remember kind of sitting down and we would get to and just people everywhere. They're just scrambling to kind of, they get pictures, but they're throwing their kids at you to take pictures of their kids. It's just nuts, crazy. So it was just definitely an eye opener for me, but especially the crowd. Everything you do, they understood what you did, and then I stayed there for a bit, and I guess I trained with guys with Dakota and all those guys that Sakuraba went to their gym, and we just trained. These guys are just roll, and that's just what they did every single day. Yoshida was a gold medalist, black belt, gold medalist in judo, in the Olympics. So we stayed with them. But it's funny how these guys would literally finish training. They'll go and eat and smoke while they're eating, and then when you train it, they train good, but literally they take it to another level once they fight. It's like they'll go in there and die. They would rather die in that ring than lose. So it's crazy, but that's Japanese for you, right? So.
It's funny, it's such a different culture. Like a lot of people that say that crowd was way more educated than you. UFC crowds now are getting more. Educates more people to jiu-jitsu and understand and striking and things like that. But I mean, UFC crowd 10 years ago, in general, they had no idea. When there's takedowns, they'd start booing. Because they just want knockouts. At least now they can understand passing the guard and advantageous positions and recovering guard and different things like that. But how did you find because I love the old school training stories. Like the mentality of how they used to, how was the old school, what would a sort of a fight camp look like for you back in the day in terms of how hard they went in terms of training? Because obviously it's pretty different to these days where it's more very about skills sharpening and not as much brain trauma.
It is like next level back in the day. In saying that, where I had a chance to kind of either sign with the UFC or Pride at that time, and then I chose Pride over UFC. So I don't know how my life would have ended up if So kind of calling it sliding doors. But I remember when I was going to, I was talking to Ryan Parsons. Said, "Come over and to Temecula and train with us and see how you go." So I had a little bit of a layoff after 2007. I fought Eddie Sanchez, and it was pretty big back then because I signed a 3-fight deal with the UFC. It was awesome. So I was ready to rock and roll, and I went and spent the time there with Temecula. But I kind of got beaten up in that fight. But it's I guess when you talk about stage fright, that's stage fright. And I remember when I first went to Temecula, and then I was at the airport, and I thought, man, I was heavy, and Ryan was picking me up, and I thought, man, if these guys don't turn up in the next 20 minutes, I'm hopping on a plane and going back to Perth, because I just thought,
the nerves.
Thought, I'm away from the family, the whole thing, and I was like, okay. So then they rocked up within 10 minutes, and then Ryan walks to the door, and a guy named King Mo. So loyal. So he's
fought in Bellator, didn't he?
Fought Bellator.
Yeah. Thought so.
So he rocks up and he goes, "Oh man," he goes, "Damn you big man." And I'm like, okay. So then we drove back to Temecula. We staying all together. So it was me, Mayhem Miller, King Mo. There was like guy Cammy's he's another guy there, but he's at ATT, so he does all the wrestling for ATT. So all these guys were standing in the house, and I'm thinking, man, this is. And then the morning of our first training session, me and King Mo woke up early, and then we went and got some pancakes. So I'm smashing pancakes, and then and I'm smashing pancakes, and he goes, "Man, don't eat too much, man. We've got a big session." I was like, "Oh, really?" I didn't understand what he meant. Man, our first session, man, I was like crazy. These guys, you literally got Dan Henderson, you got Brian Stan was there, you got Soccer Joe, you got Mayhem Miller, you got Matt Linden, you got all these top guys at Temecula at Team Quest. And literally, you're on it. Like, man, I woke up that next morning, you could feel it. Even like, and these guys were doing 5 to 6 rounds, 5-minute rounds, and literally rotating. But you're also rotating against guys that are top level, top 5 in the world. So I had to really kind of really wake up pretty quickly. And then we had the conditioning, and that was even worse. But it took me a bit to kind of to learn, obviously, and this is the level that I need to be at. So.
And adjust to that volume.
Adjust to the volume, yeah. So it was good because met a lot of good friends along the way of the journey from MMA, and just, we bump into each other now. We kind of have a laugh and stuff. So, but it's been good. It's been a good journey.
Because you used to have some, there was some wild, I think just in sports in general back in those days, you had people who were just had wild lifestyles.
Yeah.
Like there was no such thing as recovery. Yeah. It's just people who would come in, they can just dial in and perform, and then they'll be out on the piss the night before. So they just sit like smoking dough, and then they just turn up and they perform. Yeah. Go, how the fuck? But they were just, it was just like people were just wild back in those days.
You're talking about Mayhem Miller? Mate, that dude will come. I've never seen a guy that goes straight from a nightclub, straight to training, and still gives 150%. That guy's crazy, man. And you know what he's like because you see some of his stuff. But he's like, he was crazy. He wasn't, but he like, I said, bro, you going to sleep? And he goes, I don't need to sleep, man. And just bang, Red Bull, bang, he's straight into it. But but it made terrific. I had to sleep, and it was literally Tuesday, Wednesday. My body's breaking down. These guys they're just going non-stop. So,
in terms of fighter pay, because a lot of people, this is something that most people have got most of the general public got no idea what in terms of how hard it is to sort of get ahead as a fighter. Yeah. It's only a very select, probably handful for every division that actually get paid very well, and the rest are pretty tough. What would you in the UFC got paid per fight, excluding endorsements? Just like
when I first had my fight in 2007, I got 6 and 6. So $6,000 to fight and $6,000 to win. I lost that fight, got $6,000. You spend all that time and money, and I was living in Temecula, so it would cost more than $6,000. So, and then you get taxed on that. So then you got to pay your manager, your 10%. By the time you finish, it's like, so you got 30% tax. Then you got to pay your manager 10%. Then the gym, you got by the time you left with 40%. So it's ridiculous.
Basically.
And that's the thing, I say this to people as well when they go, the guy got paid $50,000 for a fight. And you go, even if a guy fights twice a year and he gets paid $50,000, his manager's probably taken $20,000, his coach has taken 10, he's left with 70. Then you got to pay tax. You're probably left with 40. You're on about, and that's not even covering any treatments or anything like that. You're on about $800 for the year. And you got to pay for $800 a week for the year. And if you got a family or anything like that, they're looking after. Yeah. It's like, and people think, oh shit, you're printing, you get $50,000 a fight, and that's guys aren't getting $50,000. The guys I was treating, in the Perth UFC recently, most of them are on 12 and 12. Down the bottom, or they're on 20, or they're not. That's why them getting that 50K win bonus is so important. But it's like doing anything, like any pursuit, like being a creative actor, fighter, like the top 1%, probably the top 0.01%. Probably take about 90% of the income from it, and not the other. Everyone else has to fight.
I guess so. It depends on. I mean, if you build your popularity, you'll get more money. So I mean, Conor McGregor, like, you know, literally, like. But then the UFC bought in the Reebok deal and everything like that, kind of stuffed everyone up. So literally going from making 70 to 100 grand just from sponsorships to literally getting paid two and a half grand. It's like a massive stab in the back. But it's I guess it's, you know, it's one of those things that you just got to try to make do and try to make money in sponsorships without kind of, because normally you can have you know, you might get a 10 grand sponsored to wear their hat on you know, on TV, or this, you know, all the fight shorts you have sponsorships, 5 grand, all adds up. But it's when they bought in that deal, they kind of hurt a lot of the fighters, you know, come through the ranks. But it's one of those things that, you know, you got to make do and try to make do with what you can. But I know a lot of fighters had to quit because they couldn't make do with that money, because they had a lifestyle, they have you know, they have kids, they have their family to kind of support as well, so they had to go get jobs. So,
and that's why it's so important for them to, the ones who are like, they've got faith in their ability to build a brand. And because if you do build a brand, you got options.
Absolutely.
If you just, and a lot of athletes, like, who are very good athletes, they just got this mentality, all I've got to do is be an athlete. It's like, and the things you won't, because unfortunately you got to be, you don't have to be someone you're not. You got to build a brand, so you can get a couple of people, you can get at least a group of people behind you that can, and a community behind you that will look after you, because at least if you can get sponsorships and build a bit of a brand and have someone help you with that, you know, then you can actually make enough to survive off the sponsorship.
It's a hard life. My son came to me after the whole UFC thing. He was sitting down and he goes, we went back to the hotel where the fighters were, and he was just kind of saying, he goes, man, Dad. Then the next day he sat down with me, Dad, I need to talk to you. I said, what do you want, son? What's wrong? And he goes, don't get upset, but because he's playing high level, you know, basketball, what he's doing, because he wants to get to that next level in basketball. The UFC kind of swiped him a little bit, and he goes, Dad, I want to fight. And I'm like, what? And he goes, I want to fight. Like, but he's been wrestling and boxing and kickboxing since he was a kid. So I want him to learn that, because he has that. And I want the girls to learn that as well, my daughters. But he was like, I want to fight, Dad. I want to, you know, eventually get to the UFC, or eventually doing something, or where. And I'm like, man, you got to understand what you need to go through. And listen, I want you to kind of learn how to fight. No dramas. Learn, you know, self-defense and that, but getting to the NBA, getting to the NBL is like, you'll get paid, you know, good money without having any headaches. So it is sacrifices you need to make, and that's why a lot of fighters out there need to. If you want to become a fighter, you need to understand that there's sacrifices, and that you need to go through. Whether it's injuries, whether it's like, you know, you got to take time off, you know, and put 150% into in your craft. Because if you want to get to that UFC pride, you want to get to Bellator, you want to get to you know, ONE FC, you need to put 150% in, and it's not all like roses all the way there. So, and any fighter will tell you that. So anyway, I said, look, let's just nice and slow. Yes.
And even if most guys that make it as fighters, they have kids, and if they're successful as fighters and have great, and they become financially very successful, they almost don't want their kids to go down that path.
Oh man,
because they know how fucked up it
man.
is.
Like if you got your kid, he's sitting there watching him fight, and you think, oh man, I don't want him to get hurt. You know, that's the last thing. But but he's like 6'7", and he's 16 years old. So, and he's long, so he's been training as a kid. So I don't know. We'll see what happens. But,
because you were Pride originally, then you had a short run in the UFC, then you came back later on into the UFC. And did quite well in your second run there. So what for you changed mentally the second time around?
I think I was sitting on so after that UFC 79 when I fought Eddie Sanchez in Las Vegas, I came home, I was depressed. But this is what happens when you're winning, you're winning, and when you're losing, you're losing. No one wants to know when you're losing. Like, right? It's funny how the whole week everyone's going giving me a high five. Oh yes, we won. Yeah, awesome. Like, you know, we're going to win. You're going to knock this guy out. And it was awesome. And fights where I'm winning. Everyone's giving me a high five. Yeah, we you know. But when you're losing, I remember sitting in a hotel room the week before that. Everyone's like in my room. I'm sitting there by myself in the hotel room eating a steak and looking around and thinking, geez, this is reality. Reality sets in. I'm thinking, man, I'm getting depressed. Like, where is everyone? I had to catch a plane by myself back to Temecula and then grab my bags and fly back to Perth. I was sitting on the couch kind of depressed. It was like in depression mode just going down. I'm like, man, like I was looking at things online. People were, mate, you're shit, you're hopeless, you're useless. You're not even from Australia, even though I was born in Australia. Man, shut up, man. Anyway, I was like, and fell into depression, and then I put on a lot of weight. I blew out to about 160, 170 kilos. Because when you get into that thing and you think to myself, man, and then Dana White, mate, they ripped up the contract. They said, you're never coming. I signed a 3 fight deal with the UFC, and they said, you're never coming back you had one fight, you're never coming back. First ever UFC fighter to get their contract ripped up. So
just from one fight.
Just from one fight, because it was bad. It was bad. I mean, if you watched, I haven't even watched the fight, but it was bad. I got stage fright, and people that are watching this, I don't know if anyone here has got stage fright, but everything froze. I can't even remember the fight. So it was embarrassing for me, and man, I blew out. I put on weight, and then I remember I was just eating just takeaway like KFC, McDonald's, cheesecakes, more KFC, liters of ice cream, a lot more KFC with potato gravy, KFC with coleslaw, KFC with Pepsi Max. I'm not promoting KFC here, but I remember remember the $9.95 Tuesdays, 9 pieces of KFC, mate. I used to live on that shit. So at the end of the day, mate, I blew out, and I remember waking up one morning and I had a bit of pain in my chest. I thought, shit, I'm having a heart attack, and I feel like I was having a heart attack, and I thought I need to make a change now. What do I want to do? And this is where people, like I tell people, they need to put goals in, need to put a plan in place. Number one, I didn't want to die. Number two, okay, what do I want to do? So went to a gym, Southern CrossFit, and say, hey guys, listen, guy named John, hey, I need to get fit. I need to drop the weight. I was about 165, 170 kilos. I need to drop down to 120. I was 120 in the UFC. So I said, so I'll give us 100%. And there you go. I trained every single day and twice a day. I was on the hustle, I was on the grind. And then I had to have some fights. So in order for me to get back into the UFC, even though they said, mate, you're never coming to the UFC again, we need to have some fights. So then I had fights. I had a total of 8 to 9 fights before they even said, even after the 3 fights, they said, mate, no, you're dreaming. So after 3, 4, 5, 6 fights out of UFC, they kind of started thinking, oh, okay, no dramas. A lot of people started hitting up Dana White online, and then I was supposed to fight in 1FC against, I think it was 1FC against Andrei Arlovski, because he was contracted. Yes. But then Andrei Arlovski and Tim Silva ended up fighting each other. But they offered me a 3-fight deal. But the problem with that is, if you sign with a contract with them, they can delay that contract. That 3-fight deal, I said, I need to have it in that 1 year. Yeah, no problems. And they said no, so they'll stretch it out. All of a sudden you're having 3 fights in 3 years, 1 fight a year. So I said no, and I guess the goal was to kind of get back into the UFC, but then that fell through, and he ended up fighting Tim Silva on that. So, and then eventually he got signed. I guess the last one was against Sean McCorkle, who was a former UFC fighter, and knocked him out, and then there you go, UFC started and back into it. So, and it's just hard work. It's just consistency, hard work, and if you put your mind to it, no matter what people say to you and say, mate, you're never going to do it, mate. Whatever, mate.
And taking responsibility also for your situation.
Yeah, 100%.
For actually aligning yourself.
Yeah, just and getting back there, and I did get back there, and had a bunch of fights back in the UFC, and there you have it. Not only did I prove everyone wrong, I just went. It was one of those things where I like that.
Do you feel also CrossFit is actually good, for improving your conditioning and all the stuff as a fighter and your strength?
For me, it was good because it was a challenge, and so I don't know, but you might have CrossFitters come in their broken bodies, mate. I love it. I was like, I was on every day. There was always something different, and I always had to. It was a challenge for me because I hate running, and then I'd be smashing out the weight workout and get on the run as quick as I can, because you got these other 70 kilo guys sprinting
like
out.
The rabbits coming up.
By the time I get back, they're like there, and I'm like, geez, man, these guys are just doing the kipping push-ups and butterfly push-up. The chin-ups, and I'm like, man, and but it was a challenge for me, but it was awesome because it really pushed me and got me to that next level. So, and it did help with what I was doing when I was fighting in the MMA scene as well. So. Yeah.
How was your approach, essentially, like when you made it back the second time? How was your approach to all the people getting on their knees and praise to you the second time around?
Oh man, it was funny. It was funny because people that disconnected back in the day, they reconnected. Oh, hey man, awesome work. You know, it's like, shut up, man. Like, where were you when I was like, I got cut from the UFC? You were like, and now you come running. Like, I was never like, you know, rude, but I was also like, man, I know, don't come to me, man. But like, but at the end of the day, the hard work started there as well. So in a way, in order for me to stay there, I need to kind of, but it was good that I ended up getting back there. So, and just basically kind of proved to everyone that back in 2007 when I fought, that wasn't the Hulk. This is the Hulk now. So, and it was good.
And you really find out who your real core of people are during that, And you do,
Yeah, everyone knows that. I mean, when you're doing well in your business, right? It's like, and when you're doing, not doing, people, something happens to you, like people love seeing you fall.
Well, because I went bankrupt 5.5 years ago.
Oh, wow.
So I had a business. I started my own business out of uni, did really well. Then I went big scale, people got in my ear, went ego, did things away from my core business. And just had some things just fuck up and everything blew up in one hit. Yeah. And then obviously, I had people just, do this, who had no fucking investment in it at all. And then you buy into it and you actually start to think you're the fucking man. And then you do it, and I lost everything. And then I had to rebuild again, leasing out of a physio practice, a little room, do my own admin after having what was going to be the biggest thing that was going to be in like WA or like for like a big recovery setup, and I went through the exact same thing myself. And you really, these motherfuckers go around and go, and then now, like obviously as I'm now building things up well past what I was before, then you see some character, and you see some attributes of similar, whether it's those people or similar people. That and the same as what you said, you're not like negative towards them, but you're like sort of go fuck yourself, like you know what I mean. But you don't hold any massive negativity, but you're also not going to give them anything of yourself. You save yourself for the people who were around when you were in shit down the bottom, and who had faith in you. So like I went through the similar thing. You got to see the real fickle people. I think the lesson I learned as well is like obviously the core people around you. You know the core people. The core people are always going to stay the core people. You'll get a couple people that will trickle into your inner circle, but normally it's going to be these people have been around for 10 plus years.
And you know that, you've like, same as me, like I knew that. I actually didn't know you could swear on this, but fuck me.
For sure.
No, but and that's just life in general. When you're winning, you're winning. When you're losing, you're losing. People don't want to learn to lose. They jump up really quick. Look at Israel. Israel on the top of the world champ, and he lost. Mate, where there was the memes going out, there was like thing, and I'm sure he felt shit. But then you had people that might have like, oh man, he's not the man anymore, I'm not going to hang around him. Man, like fuck, like what the fuck, like, and then if he wins this, then they'll be back on his thing again. So people are just funny. They're funny anyway.
Yeah, they're very fickle.
Yeah.
In terms of like a lot of what we talk about here is about masculinity. What's your thoughts on where sort of like modern masculinity or where men are at sort of at the moment?
I really need to be careful what I say here because there's but I think things have changed a lot. 20 years ago, when it's toughen up, man, you got to toughen up and all these things that nowadays you've just got to it has changed in a way because media, social media, all that stuff, that things are okay to kind of, and obviously you can talk about things now and I'm not sure if I should say this, softer society now. So it's, I think that's all I can comment on.
Okay. What do you think are some, like, I guess, the problematic things that some men are, some patterns that you see some guys are getting into these days?
I think a lot more men are now are reaching out, are talking now because they can see that it is a lot more where they can reach out and it's okay to reach out now, which is a great thing. Don't get me wrong, especially on stuff that we do as a mental health company. So, which is great to see a lot more people coming to reaching out now that they see that they are struggling, but they're still in that same thing where they're still keeping it in. So I think the more times that we can kind of educate and help people and use platforms like this in the podcast that we can talk about it, helps other people understand that, geez, if the boys are talking about that, mate, I can do the same as well. So because it's just like we're having a conversation now. People need to have conversations and tell stories. I think truly, I believe this, that story saves lives. Whether I tell my story and it helps other people and understand and encourage and empowers other people to tell their story about what they're going through in their life and that. So you know what Sol was talking about, the boys have talking about, mental health. You know what, I've gone through depression, anxiety. I've gone through this, and all of a sudden they're having conversations with their loved ones, their friends, their people that and then from then on, then they have conversations. So the more conversations that we can have, I think the better it is. In the world that we live in. So
instead of suffering alone, like on your corner.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, you've dealt with it with a lot of people, so you could, and I'm sure, even though you do the chiropractor and stuff like that, but I'm sure people reach out to you and while you're sitting in there kind of cracking them and they're like, they're telling you about stuff that they might be going through. So I guess if we can kind of have conversations and spread the word and help people understand and educate people, the better it is.
Because one of the things we do beyond the podcast, we started doing, because we started everything in December, we started doing men's circles as well. So we have like a dozen guys and we actually run them in the back room here. Where it gives Theo essentially runs it and I'll be in there as well. And it gives the 12 guys an opportunity. And Theo really sets the tone with it so that the guys know where they can, opens up the vulnerability so they know where they can actually take the conversation rather than most men are very surface level. And I always was very surface level until we did work. And I was with my mates. There's always very surface level laughs and all that sort of shit. So, but you even just from the couple of men's circles we've done, man, it's mental. And some of the stories that come up and the big things that you see is how many similar shit that guys are going through. Like there'll be 12 guys and there'll be one other guy go, fuck yeah, you've got like an Eastern Euro dad like me, and you had that upbringing, and someone else, you had that sort of upbringing that I had, and you had this, or you're going through this with your ex that I've gone, and they'll see so many commonalities, and that's where I've got to, probably not, I don't see as much, obviously in my profession, but a lot of that we're doing in this, because guys are really opening up, and that's where I know this is like a real passion for me, because I know there's a lot more depth going into this, and you sort of see the impact on it and the scale, like with what you're doing with the,
and that's the difference between if a person with a tie or whoever it is comes in and does a presentation for a group, and they say, hey guys, listen, 2019 we had 9 suicides a day, blah blah blah, starts talking about stats. People, especially on the mind sides, will fall asleep. Hey, listen, they start talking about the 6 pillars to mental health. To them, they think 6 pillars is holding up their back shed. They don't understand. But you start telling about stories, they can relate to the story. They can relate to depression, anxiety. Oh, hang on, he's the same as me, ethnic, or he's Indigenous or whatever it is. He's the same as me. So what he's talking about, I understand it because I relate to it. People. And this is the secret, right? I truly believe this is a secret to a good mental health presentation or good mental health, program is. In order for you to make someone listen, the group listen, they need to feel it in their heart, or what you're actually saying, or the story that you're actually saying. They need to feel it in their heart or relate to it for them to listen. And if they can feel it in their heart, they will sit there and listen. Oh, geez, hang on, he's empowered me, he's encouraged me. Now I'm going to go and talk to my friends. And all of a sudden they're getting on the phone, babe, listen, I've just had this kind of conversation with the guys. We saw the Hulk and this and that, and this is what they're saying. Hey, remember this? All of a sudden they're talking about something that they've gone through or something. So it's important to kind of to share it. That's why I truly believe, kind of story saves lives.
We actually evolved like that. Like we used to be in the tribes, basically sitting in a fire, like on a circle, sharing with each other, and that's how we evolved, like through stories. That's why it's so important. You know?
I think the men's groups are good. I mean, let's not take away from the women as well. That they go through hard times. Also, there are suicides and that as well. But they can kind of tend to have a coffee, have a conversation with friends and that as well. But guys. They can talk about their broken down engines, their brand new boat, their jet ski, their brand new house that they've just kind of bought. Hey, listen, they're talking about that. But when you talk about things that their feelings, it's hard unless they're put in that safe space, like you have just put in 12 people in that safe space that they can talk, and it all stays here. Then they'll have more kind of, they encourages them to kind of talk about things.
Safety is the most important thing.
Yeah, 100%.
Because most of us as kids, we never actually felt safe in our environment.
Yeah.
So as soon as you provide that, straight away you see guys like opening up and really.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and that's with me. And then when I told my story about my life, and it's one of those things that I dig right deep into my story, where I was born, where I was from, while I was in Newcastle, to my upbringing, and also to a suicide because I nearly took my own life. My oldest daughter saved my life, and that's and that's just a thing where. I remember coming back from a long camp, and I was kind of at home. I was away from most of my life, and not watching the girls kind of grow up. And then because I thought myself as a father, go and work and provide for the family, send them to the best schools, whatever it is. But at the end of the day, my kids don't care about that. Whether I'm going fighting in the UFC or whatever I was doing, all they cared about, if they're about to do a 100-meter sprint at a school carnival, ready to rock and roll, and then look back, oh, mum, dad's here, awesome. That's all they cared. Me being there for them, standing on the stage about to do a drama thing that they've been learning for the last 3 to 6 months, and they're going looking at, oh, mum, dad's here, awesome. That's what they cared about, me being there. And I guess it come to that stage where I was sitting at home, and I overheard my oldest daughter talking on the phone, and she was talking on the phone to a friend, and she goes, dad doesn't give a shit, doesn't come to anything I do. When I heard that conversation, I thought, I didn't pull her up about it, but I thought, man, that hurt me in the heart. I don't think you understand the sacrifices that I'm making as a father, the sacrifices that people that are watching this making as a father or as a parent, going out and working to provide for their kids, sending them to the best schools, paying electricity bills, the mortgages, all these things that they would want to provide for. I didn't understand that, and I guess that kind of led me to that day where I kind of nearly took my life. And if it wasn't for my oldest daughter, I remember kind of. I wrote a book called Face Your Fears. So I talk about my life in the Face Your Fears. And the reason why I wrote the book Face Your Fears, my company is called Face Your Fears because it's I wake up every single day like everyone else does and either face my fears or I attack the day and I'm ready to rock and roll. But it's majority of the time I wake up and think, man, I don't want to get out of bed, and I'm facing my fears today. And that morning when I woke up, I decided I was going to take my own life, and I had everything planned. And I remember having that conversation with myself and not reaching out to anyone because I felt no one cared for me, no one loved me. I didn't have 12 people in the room like you guys have organised to talk about stuff because I had no one there. I used to win fights, high five, Hulk, yes, we won the fight, let's go and party. I used to sit in the toilet and cry. Why? It's because I couldn't reach out. I couldn't say, hey, coach, I'm struggling today. Can we have a conversation? Because in life, it's funny in life, we all assume things. We assume things in life that, I assume that if I was to reach out to you, you might say, mate, toughen up, Hulk. You're one of the modern day gladiators that hop in the octagon for a living. Mate, you'll be fine, mate. You're the Hulk. That's what I was assuming. But in reality, he probably would have said, hey, sit down, let's have a conversation. Hey, you're not training until we get you help. And that's in reality, but I didn't. My mind was always fucking with me all the time. So I then, and that's why I used the UFC or the MMA, Fighting in Pride. I used that as a coping mechanism for me. I understand that even though there was a Band-Aid over something that I was going through at the time, but I understand that, but it helped me at that time. But I also understood that if I didn't get help, one day it would have erupted, and when I talk about suicide, I don't talk about it lightly. The people that are going to be watching this show, you're not a coward for thinking about suicide. No one's a coward. I didn't want to die. No one wants to die, but it was the pain that I was going through at that time. And I was at the pinnacle of my career in the UFC, and I was fighting, man, but I was struggling. And it brought me to that day where I was standing on the chair, had a rope around my neck and about to take my own life. Sent a text message to my oldest daughters, and not telling them what I was about to do, just tell them I love them and I'm sorry for letting them down. And and within 10 seconds of sending that text message, my oldest daughter replied back with a text message which saved my life because I was about to throw my phone on the ground, and she said, I love you too, Dad. And then she didn't know what I was doing, and then she said, can you take me to a party tonight? So I went, fuck. if she would have just said, I love you too, Dad, I would have taken my life. I still would have taken, because she needed me, and it was that little thing that she needed me for. I thought, man, what am I doing? Like, it's like something slapped me in the face, and I started laughing. And I was standing on this chair with a rope around my neck, but I started laughing. I'm like, I think, what am I doing? And made me realize that if I was to take my life today, in 5 to 10 years' time, less or more, my daughter's going to go, you know what, Dad didn't give a shit, didn't come to anything I did at school. He was always doing his training for the UFC and all this stuff. You know what? He took his life, I'm going to take my life. If she has kids, her kids are going to say the same thing. But Mum's dad took his life, and then, he wasn't there for Mum, and Mum's left us to fend for ourselves. She's taken her life, I'm going to take my life. So it ends up becoming a ripple effect from me to my daughter to her. So at that moment, I kind of took that rope off and got off the chair, because I wanted to be there for my kids, and I wanted to support my kids, my friends, my family, the loved ones. I didn't want to die, and in order for me to be there, I needed to get help, and that's just that one step where I went and reached out to my friend and started crying and asked for help, and my friend took me and we got help. So
it's funny how the universe can, even a lot of people think things like the universe is bullshit, but like it does. There's certain times, there's certain things that will take you to that place, right, to the edge of the cliff. And I'm the same as like yourself. I'm an extremist, and I always do everything to the right. Then the cliff. And I've had a few things happen in my life. And I'm like, and I know that's the universe saying you're meant to fucking be doing something bigger. And now I'm starting to know what I'm meant to be doing, not just as a chiro. But and the bullshit stories, the guys. And same thing. I've always told myself bullshit stories in my head, but you can't have these conversations with you guys or family. And then once you actually start having them, like, it's amazing. Most of them, you have like a new depth with them that you think they're just be going, what the fuck's this bloke on? But I mean, and it's all because the bullshit that we say to ourselves, and that goes with everything. Like, the bullshit stops you from
it's assuming shit.
Like the bullshit I told myself about, I don't want to get married and all this sort of stuff, blah, 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 all these stories you make up, and all this bullshit, whether it's starting a business or anything, you tell us all these things that just stop us, and you think, fuck, if you just go and do what you really want to do,
and be happy about it,
and just have a crack and do it. It'll blow up in your face occasionally, but like, it's not going to blow up in your face anywhere near what you 100%, think it will.
And be happy about it. Just like, I guess that's the most important thing for me is now I'm happy, but it's the blessings that I get back. I'm religious, but it's one of the things that if you give back to somebody or some people, or if you help somebody and you give back without wanting anything back, it's going to come back around and it's going to help you. And it's the blessings that I know that I've helped and saved people's lives. And what you're doing is you're helping and saving people's lives by having these little things, putting these podcasts on, because you want people to learn and understand and educate people that, mate, look, we're doing it, we're talking about it. So if we can talk about it, mate, anyone else there that can, and these are the platforms that need to come out and need to be spread out through the world, so it helps people kind of thing, because it's a blessing that you guys are doing this, because look, you guys are going to be helping people already. So,
and you as well, my man. All of us. So bit off topic with many people probably know you as more what you're doing now currently, or the fighting background, but let us talk about the background in acting and what got you into movies and that sort of stuff, because it's quite a diverse.
Man, I thought acting was easy, but it's not. So, the whole entertainment, the fighting entertainment is all entertainment, but there's a lot goes into it. But I guess the first film I did was Son of a Gun, and that was with, that was with Matt Nable, that was with Eddie Baru, Ewan McGregor, Brenton Thwaites. That's where it all started, I guess. And I'm just watching them and I think, man, this is how it's done. These guys are professional. These guys, so that kind of really got me into kind of the film and that. So I've done a few, but we've got a few coming up as well. So it's something else I want to do from fighting into the film industry, but also use that platform that I can promote what I love, and that's mental health. But it's been a journey. So, but I love the whole film industry. So.
Definitely. And it all goes back to just building a brand.
Yeah,
and the stronger 100%. Your brand, that's why obviously I'm big on branding, and I've used my chiropractic sort of brand to start to build an audience, obviously, and build more into this, because it's easier doing that than getting straight into mental health. It's easier to have a platform, either an athlete or actor or whatever it is, and then you can just go boom, you can transfer. You've already got a community and an audience that sort of listens to you. But in terms of your legacy that you want to be remembered and what you're doing down the track, what's that sort of
For mental health, saving people's lives, that's my legacy, not the fighting. I just did that because it helped me. I don't like fighting. I'm actually being serious. I don't like fighting, but I did it because it helped me with what I was going through. The person that I used to look at across the arena was never the person that I was fighting, it was the person that hurt me. So I used to fire me up. I guess towards the end of the career, when I finally met what I needed and faced my fears, and it was what am I doing this for? I don't need to do this anymore. Like I'm content with life now. I'm happy with so I think that's when I stepped away from it and thought, okay, well, I've done what I needed to do. There's nothing else to fight for. What am I fighting for? Before I was fighting for something, and I was fighting for me and my mental health, and fighting, and it was always a grudge that, man. And if you see some of my fights, it's a lot of knockouts, but it was like I can't even remember if I'm on top. That's the Hulk. I'm raining down punches, and then after I'm like, oh shit, what the fuck just happened? And oh man, sorry, bro. Like but it's like, and that's why I did it, because it helped me with what I was going through. So.
And you've got such a stronger, I guess, purpose now.
Yeah.
As well. And when you've got a really strong purpose, like it's not nowhere near as hard to get up.
Oh, absolutely. Man.
It's like you can just keep pushing through shit.
Oh, man. It's like walking to a room. I get more out of walking to a classroom of kids, walking into a group of 50 people or more into a mine site. More contentment I get walking out instead of and walking out to a group of 20,000 people watching me fight. It's like, that's nothing compared to walking out and helping somebody with my story, with my presentation, these kids that need it the most, that I can help out. So that's my purpose, but I get more out of that. I get like chills, like, the UFC was nothing, like, you get nothing out of it, and that's apart from just a few headaches, and then a few broken bones, like you see me, you cracked me in the back there, man. I was like, I actually feel good, man. I'm going to go for a 18-kilometer run. Like shit,
mate, I'm booking you in again tomorrow morning if you go for an 18-k run, bro.
I'm doing 500 push-ups after this shit.
All right, so mate, I love the story. I loved hearing, obviously where you came from. What you're about. I resonate with a lot of things you're talking about. It's just great to see another person that's on going down a different angle, but still with a very similar mission. And I wish you all the best with it as well.
Awesome.
And, it's awesome, man. So anyone they want to sort of connect with you, how would they find you?
Just through social media, Soul the Hulk, or they just kind of reach out to us at Face Your Fears or something like that. So, at the end of the day, man, I'm people, it is hard to get hold of me, but, I guess if you reach out to the social media and they can, if it's, and I normally hop on anyway and start talking to people, start talking shit and stuff like that, talk to people and that as well, just have a conversation, talk to people everywhere, man. So, I don't care. Like, it's one of those things that, I'm not one of those things, but hey, listen, there's a movie called Avarice. It just come out. It went to cinemas. Go watch it. It's a good film. John Soto is the director of it, so it was a good film. So see you guys. There's another one coming out soon.
Awesome. All the best, man.
All right, awesome. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.